We are going to make a corn and green chili salad today. It's a very easy recipe. It is going to be a far more successful workshop for you if you still make sure that you read everything in your lesson plan. The recipe, the ingredients, the materials list, have all of your ingredients around you. And make sure that you have your talking points next to you so that you don't have to commit every last thing to memory. And have the recipe in front of you so that you can do it very easily. One trick that I've learned over time is that it's really kind of nice if when you set up your mise en place, you put the ingredients in the order that you're going to use them. However that works visually for you. The first ingredient in this recipe is 2 cups of frozen corn. So I have the ingredients kind of in the visual order that I'm going to use them. And that's going to make it easier for you because that's one more thing that you don't have to think about, okay? This salad has 2 cups of fresh corn. We ordered all of our ingredients today from an online vendor and had it delivered yesterday so that I could make sure that everything was here and it was in the right amount so that I didn't have to worry about that today. However, beforehand, you want to get your ingredients. You want to make sure that you have plenty of time to inventory what you have so that you don't find out at the last minute you're missing something. So here's my 2 cups. This is frozen corn. I just let it thaw out naturally. Obviously, you could use fresh corn when it's in season, but in New York, that's really August, September when it tastes its best. But feel free to use fresh corn and shuck it off the cob if you have it. We're going to today also use a can of tomatoes in green chili, with green chili. You could also use fresh tomatoes, but these are delicious and they're plenty healthy, even canned. I'm going to get a spoon for myself and stir this up. Corn, you'll notice in the talking points for this recipe, is a very, very healthy thing for eyesight. It has a lot of lutein and it has zeaxanthin, which is actually good for your retina. And that's a huge thing for seniors, so it's a great talking point for that. You could also ask them questions when you're doing your workshop. You could say, does anybody have issues with their eyesight at this point? This is a great, remember that corn is going to be a really, really good thing for you to keep in your diet. And promote frozen corn because it is particularly healthy, right? You could also point out to the seniors that if you have a spoon, they're going to be able to juice a lime much easier using a spoon or fork, just squeezing and using the fork or spoon as a mashing tool for the lime juice. So we'll stir that in. And then we're going to put a 1/4 cup of cilantro. Now, cilantro is an herb that is extremely healthy. It's packed with vitamin A. When you're chopping it up, you can cut the few leaves that are on the end and then hold it straight up in the air to get the rest of them so that you're getting less stem. Okay, and it's an easy way to shave off the leaves without the stem. For this recipe, I only need a 1/4 cup, so I don't really need that much. However, even though cilantro is packed with vitamin A, so is parsley and numerous other herbs, and you may want to use a different ingredient if you think the population you're cooking for may not like cilantro. So here's about a 1/4 cup of cilantro. And now we're going to do a 1/3 cup of green onions. When you're chopping on your chopping board, you're going to want to keep your board nice and clean. So once you're done with an ingredient, get rid of it. And remember that when you're holding your knife, you always want to be grasping it like you're shaking hands, okay? You don't want fingers and thumbs somewhere else on the knife. It's dangerous, and it also doesn't give you as much grip on the knife. So I'm going to cut these, and it's always going to give you more control of your knife for you to keep the tip of it on your cutting board, okay? So rock it back and forth like that, and keep your fingers tucked under. That's the thing that people always cut, right? Their fingertips. So if your fingers are tucked under and your knife blade is on the back of your knuckles, you can't cut yourself. Always use a knife also that's comfortable for you, size-wise. All right, so 1/3 cup of green onion. I use all the white, and then I use some of the green, but not the bulk of it, all right? So that's about 1/3 cup, and we're going to put that into our salad. And this salad also calls for a half a tablespoon of canola oil. That's your half a tablespoon. So stir this in. This is really a beautiful salad. Look at the colors. There are a lot of ways that you could have this. You could roll it up in a lettuce leaf. You could have it as a side dish for another entree. And the last ingredient we're going to put in here is radishes. Radishes are particularly good for your digestive health. When you're slicing things that are round, like a radish, and small, the best thing you can do is cut yourself a flat surface, okay? And if you're not comfortable with that small a flat surface, cut it in half, and then rock your knife just like we were doing before, okay? And make sure that your hand, your non-dominant knife hand, is far away, and really your knuckles are only facing the knife blade. So this is, I think, a good size to eat in the salad. It's going to be beautiful in there. If you wanted to cut it into quarters, if your radish was particularly big, you could cut it even into smaller pieces. And you're only using your non-dominant hand as a guide. So you really don't even need it that close to something small like a radish. Those are the kinds of things that you have a tendency to cut yourself. So you're just using it as a guide for the end of the radish. You don't have to have it close to your knife tip. The last thing you want to do in a workshop is cut yourself. And even though you're wanting to engage the seniors in ways to help you, you're going to want to think of questions that you can ask them. How much they eat corn, get corn into their diet, whether or not they keep it in their freezer. And you're going to want to engage them during the workshop in other ways, maybe serving their other attendees, but you don't want to engage them in chopping. That you can do yourself, all right? As I said before, radishes are particularly good for digestive health. They have an enormous amount of fiber in them, and they keep for a long time, and they make a great snack. So if you have radishes on hand, the French eat radishes as a snack a lot of the time. That's why these look like cherry bells, but there's also a more oblong radish that's called a French breakfast radish. So clearly the French even eat radishes for breakfast. Remember all the different things that you can talk to talking point wise. Have your talking points near you. Tomatoes are very high in vitamin C and also in the phytochemical lycopene, which is a carotenoid. It should protect your heart and your cells in good ways. I would be willing to bet that this does not need salt. It should be quite, it should be quite tasty, and it is, without any added salt. Now, you can discuss with the seniors how they want to eat this. You could have lettuce leaves on hand. You could also have a cracker. Or, personally, I think it's a great way to just serve it on a plate. It's got an enormous amount of flavor. And it's a beautiful summer dish. Remember that you're going to always want to have gloves on when you're doing your workshop. And you're also going to want your hair tied back if you have long hair. And you're going to want a hat on or a hairnet. But whatever you do, you don't want any of your hygiene in the dish, right? So keep everything, hair and nails, etc., covered or pulled back. Here is our corn and tomato and radish salad.